Today I'll be sharing a week's worth of super simple, tasty, easy to recreate breakfast ideas. I really hope there's something in here that you're gonna wanna try out for yourself after watching this video. Towards the end, I'll also be including some travel, cafe, brunch type footage. So hope you enjoy. Yeah. And thank you to Squarespace for the support. Alright, so on Monday, I made this insanely delicious bagel. Flavor-wise, it sort of reminded me of shakshuka. First, I placed 2 bagels on the baking sheet and brushed them with some water to revive them. In the meantime, I grabbed some firm tofu and I cut it into bits using a cheese grater. I think shaved tofu is what they call it. Then I'm trying to pan fry the tofu until golden brown for about 6 minutes. Emphasis on trying because, as it turns out, my pot isn't non-stick. And I feel like I've made the same mistake before, so I had to switch skillets. Anyway, once the tofu is golden brown, I am dumping in a jar of store-bought marinara sauce. And then I'm also adding some baby spinach and some shredded vegan parmesan. Let this cook until the spinach has wilted and the cheese is somewhat melted. Now this goes onto the warmed bagel. And then I'm topping that with avocado, crispy chili oil, and everything but the bagel seasoning. I was so hungry for this, oh my god. Tuesday's breakfast was a super lovely and simple apple granola bowl. Starting with an apple. It wasn't the freshest anymore, and so I did decide to peel it. Sometimes with these green apples, the outer layer can be quite tough, so I'm peeling it and then cutting it into slices. Meanwhile, in the background, a non-stick skillet has been preheating. And then I'm adding a little bit of vegan butter. And then I'm cooking the apple chunks in there for about 5 minutes. And then I'm throwing in some rolled oats, cinnamon, salt, and some vegan honey alternative. Also, another teaspoon of vegan butter. And then I'm letting everything cook and toast until the oats are toasted and slightly crispy and the apples have cooked down even more. And then I'm adding all this to a bowl of vanilla protein yogurt. And I'm also having the last bit of sort of frozen dalgona coffee, which you can find the recipe for that in my previous video. I'm also adding a little bit of peanut butter here. But yeah, this was really yummy. I cannot wait for fall to start. Okay, next day, this was another savory breakfast. I went off this blog's recipe and did a little bit of improvising along the way, but it turned out really yummy. So first, I'm blending up the following: silken tofu, miso paste, vinegar, cashew butter, salt, and some lemon juice. Transfer everything to a bowl, and then crumble in some plain firm tofu. And so that's gonna be our cottage cheese bumps. Definitely taste test and see if you need some extra salt and or lemon juice. I picked up this lovely, gorgeous, stunning tomato at the farmer's market. I made a little iced coffee here, very yum. And that's pretty much it. You can definitely still taste the tofu, which I don't mind. I like the taste of tofu, but just so you know. For Thursday's breakfast, we are revisiting a classic concept, and that would be date caramel. First, I'm pouring some hot boiling water on top of those dates, and then letting them sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. In the meantime, I'm putting together a quick porridge using rolled oats, salt, cinnamon, non-dairy milk, and water. Just letting that simmer for about 5 minutes as well. And then I'm draining the dates here, adding them to my blender together with all the other caramel ingredients. You might have to add a little bit more water as you're blending this until you've achieved a creamy and smooth consistency. This can also be a good topping for granola and yogurt bowls, or use it as a dipping sauce for fruit or cookies and biscuits. Friday early morning, I hopped on a very last-minute flight to Porto to be specific. I love the city so much. It was my second time visiting, and I'll get into why I went there in a second, but I wanted to let you guys know that there is still one more bonus recipe at the end of this video, so if you wanted to skip the travel content, feel free to do that. Anyway, my first stop in the city was this place called Nola Kitchen, which is kind of like a health food focused place. And I was feeling pretty sluggish and tired and craving vitamins. And so I got their green bowl, which was delicious and very flavorful. But the price made me feel like I was back in New York. I had quite a bit of time to kill, so I was just aimlessly walking around the city. And I stumbled upon this place called My Green Pastry. This is a fully vegan French bakery, and I wish I would have gone there twice. I got their flan, which was insanely yummy. Most delicious custard base ever, super flaky pastry. Also, big shout out to the girl working there. Pretty sure she makes the pastries.
You tried the francesinha?
And also she gave me a bunch of vegan food recommendations, randomly also from Munich. And then she gave me another slice of flan for free, which I then got to share with my friend Emily here, who is the reason I went to Porto in the first place.
Oh my gosh! Hello! We made it! We made it! It only took us like 6 hours.
Emily and I have been long distance friends since forever, but we haven't managed to meet up in person since 2019 until this summer when she spontaneously decided to go to Portugal. And so I also spontaneously decided to go to Portugal. She's from California, so this made things so much easier for us. On Saturday morning, we went to this little book fair that was inside a park. Then we hit up another vegan bakery called Odette Bakery. We were quite late. We shared the last cinnamon roll and pain au chocolat they had, and they were a bit dry, but that again might be because we got the last batch. I'm not sure. This wasn't enough for breakfast anyway, so we then went to another vegan place. And I got this sourdough toast with spinach ricotta, mushrooms, tomatoes, and balsamic glaze. Overall, Porto seems super vegan friendly, to the point where even most non-vegan places will have a vegan option that isn't just an afterthought of a meal, but genuinely delicious. A perfect example for this would be Sunday's breakfast. I adored the sandwich that I got here so much that I had to recreate it as soon as I got back home, and we'll get to that recipe in a moment. I wanted to first give a little shout out to my two wonderful friends, Inês and Sophia, and thank them for letting me stay with them in Porto so spontaneously. And then they also made me feel so welcome and appreciated, and it was just really lovely. I got to also explore some of the coastal towns outside the city. Moving on to the long-awaited focaccia breakfast sandwich. The bread I made myself, actually. Making focaccia is so easy. The dough was just sitting in the fridge overnight. You barely have to knead it at all, but you could also use store-bought if you wanted to skip that step. Okay, for the sandwich, I'm chopping up some mushrooms and I'm letting them pan fry in some oil on medium-high for about 6-7 minutes. In the meantime, I'm making this lazy aioli, and I will link the blog that I got this from down below, but it's just so clever. Basically, you chop up a bunch of garlic, and then you mix that with some fresh lemon juice. And let that sit for about 10 minutes. You then grab a few tablespoons of plant-based mayonnaise, and using a strainer, you're gonna separate the garlic from the juice. And now that's basically garlic-infused lemon juice, which you're going to mix into the mayonnaise and then season with salt to taste. And that's it. Here's my beautiful baked focaccia that I'm gonna cut in half and then cut in half again. And then I'm first adding some avocado, which I tried to mash. I'm sprinkling that with some bagel seasoning, and then I'm adding the cooked mushrooms, which I made sure to season beforehand as well. Then I'm adding some finely chopped tomato, some chopped red onion, some of the aioli, and some cress, or microgreens. I could not find the cafe's current menu online, so this is just my replica from memory, if that makes any sense, but it tastes just as good. That is all the breakfast recipes I have for today. I do have some more clips from my trip to Porto, and I thought it would be cute to put them here as B-roll whilst I do my little ad read. Squarespace makes it really easy to create a beautiful website, connect to your audience, share your art, sell your products, sell your content, and more. Start by choosing from their wide range of professionally designed website templates to get started, or build your site from scratch if you prefer. Also, create a new logo while you're at it. Have your website quickly get discovered with their optimized SEO tools, meaning you will show up more often in people's search engines, and therefore grow your brand and business the way you want. If you need extra help, don't hesitate to ask their 24/7 award-winning customer service. Start today! Go to squarespace.com/MinaRome and use the code MinaRome to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.